Yo, welcome back to Tyrion Cuthbert. Last time we continued case 5 and we started the trial. Turns out the dragon, the scared lord, is still alive and he was pretending to be an old guy with a beard. And now he's the judge of the trial. I don't know why he cares so much, but yeah. I guess because all the... because 3 out of 4 of the heads of the pillar families died in a very short time frame. So I guess he would be kind of invested. Is this the right save? Okay, yeah, it is. We're back from the recess. Yeah, and we found out that Arya seems to have been tricked into signing some sort of blood contract. We know, I mean, we don't know, but I assume that Eris wrote the contract. And she may have been the one to give the contract to her, but maybe it could also have been someone else? Unclear. I feel like it would be kind of boring, right? If Eris was just behind everything. It has to be like someone else is like involved in some way, right? Maybe not, I don't know. Anyway. Oh yeah, something I wanted to say. I saw that the game had a patch like literally today on Steam. So I opened it because I was curious. And one of the changes was... I think it was change Tyrion's catchphrase back to what it was in the original. I don't know what that means, but I guess we're gonna see Tyrion's old catchphrase now. I didn't know he had a catchphrase. But yeah. Okay, back to the trial. Hello, Mr. Dragon. Court is now resumed. Shall we pick up where we carried off? Oh, okay. Your Grace, I think we should review what we do know about the murders. We do have a plethora of witnesses to work with. Let's start from the beginning. It all began at noon yesterday. I was at my house in Ratholm with Arya and my bodyguard Celeste. I was speaking with them when a courier suddenly delivered a letter to my home. It was from Garrick Pierce. He wanted to meet with me and Celeste at the Grand Cathedral of the Scale Lord at 2 p.m. What did the letter say exactly? Okay, it doesn't specify that like it's addressed to Tyrion and Celeste. They just assume that. And Pierce did say that he meant to send a letter to someone else. To make sure we're on time, we arrived at the Grand Cathedral at 1 p.m. At that time, we didn't know that the cathedral was closed to the public, but the knights guarding the cathedral allowed us through anyway. That's suspicious. Apparently, they were expecting us. Can we ask them about that? Why did they do that? Which should not have happened. Due to the solemnity of the situation, we were very particular about who was permitted to enter the cathedral. It's possible someone pulled some strings to let us through. Just ask them. What do you mean? Or you to enter the cathedral illegally? I know about every order given to the King's Guard, and none of them were told to let you two through. Tell me, Lucio, were the knights stationed at the entrance among the knights who fell comatose? Perhaps we should continue. I guess they were? We arrived at the church and spent the next hour sightseeing before we went to meet with Pierce. In that time, we met with the Archduke, Grand General, my client, His Majesty, and Prince Alaric. Around that time, Arya and Aster left together to meet with the High Speaker in his quarters. While exploring the cathedral, we spoke with the Duke of Commerce and Minister of Justice. Then we spoke with the 3 Frege sisters and Eris Elmather. Eris Elmather is a friend of Beatrice Frege. The King's Guard wouldn't let her bring Marinat into the cathedral, so she brought Eris to guide her instead. Indeed. Anyways, we left the garden at around 1:45 p.m. to meet with Pierce in the prayer room. Yep, that does track. At around the same time, Ariel left her meeting with the High Speaker and felt nauseous. We still don't know why she left the meeting, like, out of nowhere. Because if you remember, Aster said that she left the meeting. She was strange during the meeting, right? Like she left without saying anything, and like suddenly. Maybe she signed it. She signed the thing during her meeting. No, because she wouldn't remember then. I don't know. The last thing she remembers is looking at Lake Galacron over the west balcony. Okay, but we know her memories can be altered, right? So if her memory can be altered, we shouldn't trust her testimony. Like whoever the culprit is could have just implanted false memories in her head. A likely story. Regardless, at 2 p.m., Aster went to pay respect to his father's body. Unbeknownst to him, a major plastic glyph of contingency in front of his father's coffin. It was set to trap him within a force cage. What a despicable act. Considering what followed, the attack on His Majesty must have been a diversion. It was also at this time that both Beatrice and Eris went missing. Considering the timing of it all, someone must have taken control of Beatrice's body after the trap on Aster was sprung. Are you saying this patron controlled her as well? No, I don't think so. According to our contract, her mind belongs to the Empress of Discord, not the patron. Okay, so we're saying the Empress of Discord and the patron are two different people, right? Furthermore, Ares' blood contract was created by the Empress. I believe the patron and the Empress were in league with each other, but they were two distinct individuals. Okay, we got that clear. Okay. And the Empress of Discord is Ares, right? That is... Or is the Empress of Discord just a random demon we haven't seen? No, it's Ares, right? Surely. Wonderful. Another demon we have to worry about. At that moment, I mean, the patron isn't necessarily a demon. The patron and the Empress had all of the pieces they needed. That's when they began the massacre. The patron took control of Ares' body, and Von Sanctus was murdered at 2:05 p.m. Whether it was intentional or an accident, oil was spilled from the lantern into the common room, and a fire started. Since Von Sanctus' body was found there, this must have happened after he was murdered. I don't get the logistics of, like, because he had, he obviously had a force cage around him, because you could see from the fire didn't reach the body, but his body was still burned. So I don't know how that works. Shortly after, Prince Elric spotted smoke from the fire and asked Arya what was going on. Arya responded by using an unknown transmutation spell to incapacitate him. Jesus. I think they would use her to attack the prince as well. Luckily, the effects of that spell were only temporary, and Elric came out unharmed. After this, the patron used Arya to murder Sybil at 2:15 p.m. She brought Sybil's body to the westward balcony. We don't know where Sybil died, where she dumped it into Lake Galacron. High Speaker Arceus witnessed this, but he wasn't aware of what she'd thrown off the balcony until much later. The High Speaker thought this encounter was strange, but he continued with his business. He headed to the prayer room, but was turned away by the knight standing guard there. Meanwhile, Celeste and I were speaking with Lord Pierce. When we showed up for the meeting earlier, he was clearly expecting someone else to show up. We tried to get to the bottom of what was happening, but he refused to answer our questions. And at about 2:20 p.m. we heard a commotion outside. Celeste went to investigate. And that's when Celeste fought Arya. The patron's target was Garrett Pierce, but Celeste was too powerful to neutralize. They fought each other for about 15 minutes before Arya was finally able to push past her. During their fight, the Empress sent Beatrice into the prayer room. She probably had Beatrice cast invisibility to move undetected. She then used her to cast a sleep spell on Pierce and me to knock us out. I remember checking the time close to when this happened. This must have happened at 2:30 p.m. Yep. If the testimony is correct, Beatrice's figure was actively used in this plan. Yes, and considering how quickly the massacre unfolded, the Empress must have been coordinating with the patron. I mean, who else even knew sleep? You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. So, I mean, it had to have been Beatrice. Or Ares. Maybe Ares knows sleep. Maybe Ares knows every spell in existence. Considering how oddly some of the knights were acting, it's possible they had other accomplices too. They probably planned how they would use Beatrice and Arya to carry out the murders. Anyways, after Beatrice knocked us out, Arya finally pushed past us and entered the prayer room. I'm just curious, I guess, what Aerys' plan even is. Because surely if her plan was just to murder Lord and Sybil and Pierce, she could have done so very easily. Like, why go through all this rigmarole? What was her actual goal? Before Celeste could catch up to her, she had already murdered Pierce. Arya and I were already unconscious by the time Celeste entered the room. The patron had already received her goal of murdering the three nobles, so she probably felt unconscious when they released their control over her. Arya and I regained consciousness shortly after. That's when the Inquisition arrested her for the murders. Lord Pierce was one of the victims. The meeting clearly had more significance than I realized. So tell us, Cuthbert, what was your discussion about? It's fine, you can tell them. Alright. For the past few months, Celeste and I have been investigating who her birth parents are. I recall receiving many complaints about her during the Lord's Ball. Supposedly, Garrett Pierce had the information we were looking for. The letter he sent us said that he wanted to trade this information for his freedom. I assume this meant that he wanted me to be his attorney. Do you honestly expect us to believe that? Why would he ask for help from the attorney who indicted him in the first place? We thought the same thing. And when we arrived for the meeting, it was clear I wasn't the intended recipient. Yeah, you just said that. I think Lucio isn't paying very much attention. This means that Pierce sent the letter to someone else. Better not be lying to us, Cuthbert. Frankly, I don't much care if you believe me. Regardless, if we examine every action Arya took, we can build a psychological profile of the patron. Okay, that ... from Italian was very suspicious. I've read enough visual novels to know that when a character says ... that can't mean anything good. Did the Italian know about this? Was the letter sent to him? I don't know. One can often learn a lot about a person by how they approach combat. To begin, the defense would like to call the commander white to this time. His testimony might shed some light on how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. Despite all these witness accounts, we still only know how Pierce was murdered. Yes, he was impaled using a blade magically poisoned from his own blood. In a grim sort of way, it was almost poetic that he died the same way Flintheart did. Can you say that? But I doubt that he gives us any kind of closure. Anyways, we need to find out exactly how Arya murdered Von Sanctus and Sybil. The massacre was swift and efficient. It must have required a lot of forethought and coordination. If we figure out who might have had this knowledge, we might be able to find out who did this. I see. Kingsguard, escort Commander or more to this witness stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. You're right, Commander? I'm sorry, I just can't do this. How am I supposed to act like this is normal? A giant lizard is standing right behind me. Don't call him a lizard. Calling me a lizard is highly offensive, Commander. Sorry, your scale lordship, sir? Commander, just try your best to testify about what happened. Yeah. Alright. It all started when we received a report from the Kingsguard. The prosecutor attacked Prince Alaric and a fire had broken out in the common room. Okay, yeah. We weren't sure what the deal with Stillman was, so we went to the common room to put out the fire. But when we got there, we noticed a bunch of unconscious knights in front of the prayer room. We went to the prayer room. That's when we found Stillman and Cuthbert unconscious next to Pierce's dead body. Okay, I'm sorry. So you went to the common room, but along the way you saw the unconscious knights here? I mean, I guess when you're walking in this hallway, you could have just turned your head and saw them. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. That's when we found Stillman and Cuthbert unconscious next to Pierce's dead body. Okay. We later found the bodies of Von Sanctus and Sybil too. That's when we realized that she offed all three of them. That seems surprising to me, because we woke up at like 3:10 p.m. So that's around when they found us. Maybe a bit earlier. But like, Lloyd died at like 2:05 p.m. So we're saying he died an hour earlier and no one noticed anything? They had a whole like wizard battle and everything. And no one noticed? Not a clue. Oh, sorry, did I read that? So we still have no idea how Stillman used to murder Von Sanctus or Sybil. It's especially worse for Von Sanctus that fire burned a lot of the physical evidence off of his body. What about Sybil? Was there any physical evidence on her body? No idea about that either. She didn't have any wounds either. All we know is that she died of suffocation. There was definitely more information I could glean from their investigation. I guess I'm supposed to press. And this is mainly based on Prince Alaric's testimony, am I correct? Yeah, we still have no idea which transmutation spell she hit him with. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Judging from the time of the report, this must have been well after all three of the murders occurred. Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about. Yeah, it was unfortunate how that played out. If Stillman really was controlled, whoever controlled her knew how to get the job done quickly. I left the question of how they did this so efficiently. Was that wise? Regardless of who it was, someone assaulted the Prince of Warvengard. We're already dealing with the king who was trapped in that force cage. Honestly, a lot happened in that hour, and most of our attention was focused on keeping the royal family safe. We can already conclude that the attack on the king was a distraction. Whoever orchestrated this must have known we focused our attention on keeping him safe. How did they even know that Aster would be like next to the coffin at that exact moment, though? Right? What if he just didn't approach the coffin? Would they just have called the plan off? Or were you in on it? I don't know. Casualties included many knights from the Kingsguard. They probably had to spread their forces thin to protect everyone else and handle the fire in the common room. What did you do when you arrived at the common room, Commander? Did you see Arya or Celeste? No, we only saw the aftermath of their fight. There were marks and craters everywhere in that hallway. Pierce's time of death was 2:45 p.m. and the knights didn't arrive at the common room until 3:10 p.m. They didn't arrive at the prayer room until well after the battle had taken place. And you didn't hear anything? You didn't hear like all the explosions and shit? Wait, wouldn't that mean you were in that room with Pierce's body for 25 minutes? Why didn't you look for help? I did ask that earlier. You weren't waking up for some reason, so I kept channeling my healing magic into you. For half an hour? Looking back, I probably should have just looked for help. That's very suspicious, Celeste. But even if Arya was unconscious, I didn't want to leave you alone in that room with her. You could have just dragged us out. What do you mean? Right, sorry. Judging from the timing, this would have been several minutes after he'd already died. Yeah, and we had no idea what was going on. Pierce was already dead, and you and Stillman were unresponsive. I can see why I'd be unresponsive. I was filled with a spell specifically designed to make people sleep. But why was Arya unconscious too? We have no idea. We've never even heard of demonic possession until today. Maybe it just does that when you get unpossessed. For all we know, it could have been the side effect of being controlled for over an hour. Yeah. The last statement was a little vague. Whose murder should he elaborate on? I mean, all of them, but I guess if I had to pick one, I'm curious about Lloyd's. Could you elaborate more on Von Sanctus's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how he died? Like I said, it's trickier with Von Sanctus because the fire partially burned his body. Her divination magic would only tell that he died of suffocation. I see, so there's no other physical evidence. Well, there is one thing. From his burn marks, we do know that he was hit with some kind of mundane projectile before he died. You mean like an arrow or something? Arrow's a mage though, why would you use a mundane weapon to attack? Talentless mages will often use mundane weapons to make up for their weaknesses. Either way, she probably wanted to weaken him before she let the final blow. No, it was someone else. We saw the scene. It was Arya was distracting them and someone hit them with an arrow from behind, right? So he took a direct attack from her before he died. Anyways, please add this to your testimony, Commander White. It's one of these where I have to choose which one to add to the testimony and then present on the correct one. From the burn in his body, she must have hit him with a firebolt to keep him from getting away. He didn't have anything to defend himself with. Oh god, okay, wait, what spell did he have? I mean, he had Stone Skin, right? Is that something to defend himself with? I'll just present this right now, because it seems like it kind of makes sense. Okay, yeah, that was correct. Yeah, I got that a lot faster than I thought. That's strange. What is it now? Commander White, you said that Sylvan attacked Von Sanctus with a projectile before she suffocated him. Yeah, she probably wanted to injure him, so he'd be easier to subdue. But that's what I find strange. Von Sanctus knew he was under attack. So wouldn't he cast Force Cage to repel her? I mean, he did. I guess that's true. Von Sanctus was hardly a warrior, Cuthbert. Force Cage is an extremely useful spell, but it has to be aimed. He was shot with a projectile. He must have been in immense pain. I doubt he'd be able to think clearly under those circumstances. I normally agree with you, but the crime scene tells another story. What do you mean, Mr. Cuthbert? What implies that Von Sanctus cast Force Cage? I mean, come on. Have you seen the crime scene? I don't even know what to present. It's so obvious. Like, the trace of abjuration magic? I guess that's what you want. Because I don't have evidence for the square-shaped unarmed area around the body. I guess I'll just present this. No, okay, my bad. Okay, so I have a piece of evidence that specifically talks about this. Oh, this? Okay, yeah. When we investigated the crime scene, we found traces of abjuration magic that formed a perfect square around the body. I'm sure if we measured the dimension of that square, it would be 10 feet by 10 feet, which is the same length in which as the cube created by Force Cage. Like you said, he was in no shape to aim it. So he cast Force Cage on himself to create a makeshift barrier. Objection! Nonsense. If Von Sanctus had cast Force Cage on himself, he should have been protected from further harm. The defendant would have been able to suffocate him after that. Perhaps there's some way to bypass Force Cage. The ignorance of the arcane arts is apparent. Force Cage is one of the most powerful abjuration spells in existence. It can't be dispelled, and okay, it can't be dispelled. Okay, that's important. And no one could teleport into or out of it. Right, Astor was also trapped in their Force Cage, and he had to wait for the hour duration to elapse. Wait, if Force Cage is a perfectly close space, is it possible that he ran out of air? That would be a glaring weakness. Von Sanctus obviously designed that spell to only allow oxygen through the barrier. So the smoke in the room. Okay, yeah. And before you ask, poisonous gases can't be pushed through the barrier either. What about smoke? Right, and even if I had used poisonous gas, the autopsy report would have said he was suffocating. He had suffocated. How did the area suffocate Von Sanctus? Only oxygen can travel through the bonds of a Force Cage. So how did the area suffocate Von Sanctus despite that? The fire consumed all the oxygen inside the cage. In the common room or in the cage? I guess in the room. Yeah. Force Cage is specifically designed to allow oxygen through its barrier. But what if there was no oxygen left in the room? No oxygen? Ah. There was a fire in the common room. Von Sanctus couldn't be harmed once he was in that Force Cage. So she started the fire to eat all the oxygen within the room. Yeah. I mean, was the room like hermetically sealed? Like there was no like tiny gap in the door that would let oxygen in? Ah, whatever. What should have protected him ended up trapping him. And the inability to dispel it ended up stealing his fate. Well, I suppose that explains how the defendant murdered Von Sanctus. But with that in mind, a lot of this plan sounds like it was improvised at the moment. Yeah. Just like the murder of Pyrrhus. And not only that, we assume that the patron used the same method to kill both Lord Von Sanctus and Lady Sybil. But I doubt Lady Sybil died under the same circumstances. Correct, there was only one fire. And if Sybil was in that Force Cage, the defendant wouldn't have been able to throw her body into Lake Galacron. Which means Sybil must have died by asphyxiation elsewhere. Then our next course of action is to determine how Lady Sybil was murdered. Sigh, we still don't know where she was murdered. Yeah. The only witness who saw her around this time was the High Speaker, which was after the defendant disposed of Sybil's body. Well, the High Speaker's testimony is as good a start as any. For our next witness, the defense would like to call the High Speaker Tion Archius to the stand. What's wrong? It's nothing. Carry on. That was... You gotta stop with those ... dots. You're being very suspicious right now, my dragon friend. King Jar, escort High Speaker Archius to the witness stand. Archius? I'll just say Archius. Witness, you will testify about... Oh, great and blessed scaled Lord. Oh, is that what you were worried about? To think you would grace us with your presence. Oh my god. Forgive me, Lord Battalion. I spoke out of turn. You must think I'm an arrogant fool. How many times do I have to tell you people that I'm not a god? Yes, I revere and serve the god of dragons, but I'm not an avatar of Bahamut. But you're the scaled Lord. I'm just a dragon. I'm not even a powerful one. I'm not a deity. This humility. That's exactly what Bahamut's avatar would say. I swear to God. He even swears by the god's name. Lucio, please handle this. Perhaps another approach is warranted. High Speaker Archius, the great and powerful Italian calls upon you today. You require my life? Of course, I will gladly give my life for the scaled Lord. What? No, this is a new sprite. Of course, my blood could never be enough. Would you just let me... I'll do as you wish, my lord. It might take some time, though. I'll need some time to gather some devout followers of the faith and... Oh my god, just want your testimony. Why is this dragon so fucking zesty? Just tell us what you saw when Mr. Wynn was at the westward balcony yesterday. Oh, I see. If that's what you truly wish, my lord. Are we just going to ignore how willing he was to commit mass murder? Be quiet, we just got him to calm down. I was doing some paperwork in my quarters and I suppose I lost track of the time. My alarm went off and I realized that it was time for my afternoon prayers. Does that make sense with this? I guess the alarm was in the room, so I guess it makes sense. I began heading to the prayer room when I spotted Lady Stillwyn looking over the westward balcony. Sure. I tried to greet her, but she didn't respond to me. That's when I noticed she was pushing something large over the balcony and into Lake Galacron. I asked her what she was doing, but again, she ignored me and went towards the prayer room. I thought nothing of it and made my way there as well. That's when the guard there turned me away. I went back to my quarters to do my prayers there. Consider the timing of it all. This must have all happened minutes before she began attacking the prayer room. Yes, I consider myself lucky. The scaled Lord must have graced me with divine luck. Divine luck, you say? Please, just stop. Utsura, considering how quickly she was moving, there has to be a reason why she waited there. Was she waiting for the High Speaker to leave? Perhaps I need to closely examine the timing of these events. Okay, so I think I just need to press everything again. An alarm? It's a rudimentary artificer device. I use it to remind me to conduct daily prayers. I see. And do you have it set to go off at a specific time? Yes, it's set to go off at 2:10 p.m. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense because Sybil wouldn't even be dead yet. 5 minutes before my afternoon prayers. Okay, I mean, did I present this now or? Objection! Oh, nope, not a contradiction. My bad. My alarm went off at 2:10 p.m. How is it not this? I mean, I guess I'll press it again. So you usually say your afternoon prayer at 2:15 p.m.? Yes, it is said that the time is the holiest hour of the god of dragons. This is the first I've heard of this. Was I mistaken? Forgive me, my lord. I can't believe I've dishonored your deity. You know what? Just forget I said anything. This has to be the contradiction, right? Because it updated. Would the game, like, bait me with a false updating of the testimony? Maybe. Hang on. 2:10 p.m. I'm surprised it wasn't this. I feel like this, because I feel like this makes sense, but... Let's just keep pressing everything for now. What was her expression like? It was very cold and motionless. The patron must have had control of her when this happened. Yes, that certainly makes the most sense. What time did this happen? It was shortly after my alarm went off. It would definitely be before 2:15 p.m. Okay, so before Sybil died, right? Okay. So it was a fake update of the testimony. They haven't done that yet. Okay. Objection! How is this not a contradiction? What do you mean? She died at 2:18 p.m. and... Or maybe this one? Okay, it was that statement. Okay, I mean, they're the same in my head, but okay. Wait, what? Is something wrong? There is, but did like did she put Sybil in like a body bag and just threw her into the river and she drowned in the river or something? Or not in the river, but like the lake. There is, but I'm not really sure what it means. Stop stammering and say what you want to say. Hi, speaker. You said that you saw Arya dumping something over the ledge of the balcony. There's no need to be vague, Cuthbert. It's clear from the evidence that he saw my daughter dumping Lady Sybil's body. That's the thing, Lord Stillman. It couldn't have been Sybil's body. What are you talking about? The location of the balcony to where we found Lady Sybil's body lines up perfectly. That may be, but the witness just said he saw Arya dumping the body before 2:15 p.m. Wait. You see it too, don't you, Lucio? You're kind of stupid, aren't you, Lucio? How did Arya dump Coral and Sybil's body into Lake Galacron before 2:15 p.m. if her time of death was 2:18 p.m.? I see, that does seem peculiar. But we know the defendant threw Sybil's body from that balcony. There would be no other explanation for how it ended up there. Yes, that's also true. Perhaps she was still alive when Arya threw her off the balcony. She could have been knocked unconscious with a sleep spell. Your Grace, there were no traces of conjuration magic on her body. And even if she was, what traces were on her body? Wait. There were no traces of conjuration magic on her. Okay. So we had transmutation, evocation, necromancy. Couldn't they have used the same spell they used on Alaric to like immobilize her? Because Alaric was also hit with a transmutation spell, right? And so was she. So maybe she was hit with the same spell. It immobilized her somehow, and then they just threw her off into the lake and she drowned. Even if she was asleep, she wouldn't have survived the fall from that height. The distance from the balcony to the lake is more than 30 stories. Okay, that's a good point. And the autopsy report says that the cause of death was suffocation, not blunt force. Right. So when did she die? She died before she was thrown. Yeah. I speaker testified he saw Arya dumping the body before 2:15 p.m. Was he mistaken? Perhaps the time was later than he thought. No, Sus began fighting Arya at 2:20 p.m. If the High Speaker saw her dumping Sybil at 2:18 p.m., he would have been close enough to hear the fight break out. She could have only died after Arya dumped her off the ledge. So when did she die? Oh, Featherfall! 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 She died while she was falling. Right? Slow fall. Did she die while she was falling? No, the cause of death was suffocation. Arya couldn't possibly suffocate her while she was falling towards Lake Galacron. What if she was like in a body bag that ran out of oxygen? There was no wounds on the body. This means Arya couldn't have obstructed her airway after she was thrown off the balcony. So when did she die? Okay, after she hit the water then, my bad. She must have died after she hit the water. But Mr. Cuthbert, Lucia just said that she would have died upon impact. But that's assuming she didn't do anything to lessen the blow. She might have had the opportunity to cast a spell to protect herself. That might explain why her body wasn't as damaged despite falling from such a great height. Objection! Again, it doesn't match with the evidence. I guess I overestimated how slow you would fall with slow fall, because I thought you would fall like for 20 minutes or something, but I guess you wouldn't fall that slow. Lady Sybil's spell compendium contains the spell Slow Fall. If she had the opportunity to cast a spell, she would have used that spell to slow her descent, and she wouldn't have taken any damage from the lake if she'd done that. That's a really good point, but just indulge me for a second. What spell was cast on? Okay, so wasn't Slow Fall? To lessen the impact of hitting the water. Was it Force Gauge? Could have been. Or was it Feign Death? Hold Creature? No. Polymorph? Maybe. Stone Skin? Oh yeah, it was Stone Skin because we saw the bits of gravel, right? It has to be this. Yeah, I think Lloyd must have cast Stone Skin on her. Stone Skin. If you recall, the High Speaker mentioned that something was strange about the object Arya threw over the balcony. It was much darker and didn't match with Sybil's usual garb. I wondered if there was something else Sybil was wearing. That object was actually Lady Sybil, protected by a layer of stone. Lloyd cast Stone Skin on her before she was thrown into the lake. Harry must have attacked them, and Lloyd must have cast a spell to protect her. A coward, I'd have imagined he'd simply worry about protecting himself. But I'll admit that spell would have protected her from the Steel Wind Strike. That doesn't seem quite right. What do you mean? I might not have seen much, but I saw that the object area dump was stiff and motionless. If it had been Lady Sybil, she would have been struggling against her, wouldn't she? That's a good point too. The High Speaker saw area dumping a motionless Sybil, but if we assume my logic is correct, she would have also still been alive. What was Sybil motionless despite being conscious? I mean, they used a spell, right? They used, presumably Hold Creature. Did Arya know that spell? Yeah, she did know Hold Creature, so they used that.
What if
Sybil was affected by a spell. She must have been affected by a spell, and considering it kept her from resisting Arya, the picture must have made Arya cast that spell on her. What spell did Arya cast on Sybil? It was Hold Creature. Lloyd must have cast Stone Skin on Sybil when Arya attacked him. The patron must have known that Arya couldn't physically damage her like that, so they ordered her to restrain Sybil with that spell. Okay, but I guess it protects the entire body. For some reason, from the image, I assumed it was just like, it just protected your torso. But I guess the image is misleading. It protects your entire body, it says. Okay. And Sybil died by suffocation. That's right, Lucia. How did Sybil suffocate? Even if she was restrained, Sybil was still protected by Stone Skin. That would have left only one option for the patron. Drowned? So Sybil suffocated when Arya threw her into Lake Galacron. Her Stone Skin lessened the impact of the fall, but it also made her drop like a little rock. That's a horrible way to die, Jesus. Arya's Hold Creature spell prevented her from moving. Instead, Lloyd stayed in the common room. He didn't know his spell was signing her death warrant. She was helpless as she sank to the bottom of the lake. And then Lucia was going to say, but you don't have any evidence. And then I'm going to say, I do. Look, debris near the balcony. I believe that covers all three of the murders then. Yes. Okay, never mind, then he agrees. Lloyd Van Sanctus suffocated to death in his own force cage. Lady Sybil drowned after Arya cast Hold Creature on her. And Lloyd Pierce died after being wounded by a blade created with shaped liquid. The only common thread I see is that the patron knew how to use the victim's spell against him. But how did that connect to Pierce? Did he cast shaped liquid to make a blade to defend himself? Maybe the murderer took it from him and used it to deal the final blow. No, but he was knocked unconscious alongside me. He couldn't have been the one to create that blade. Anyways, whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of each of the spells they used to defend themselves. Did Arya know shaped liquid? She did, okay. Anyways, whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge. Okay, yeah. They knew that Van Sanctus couldn't dispel his own force cage. They also knew that he still needed oxygen from within it. And in Sybil's case, they knew Arya couldn't physically harm her once she had Stone Skin active. All according to plan. They also knew that Hold Creature would prevent Sybil from moving while she sank to the bottom of the lake. Not only that, they did all this in a quick time frame. How long does Hold Creature last? While concentrating, okay. Could you do that? Could you pick up someone and throw them over a balcony while concentrating? I guess. Van Sanctus and Sybil died within 13 minutes of each other. And if Arya hadn't encountered Celeste, Pierce might have died just as quickly. So whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of high-level magic. Not only that, they came up with creative ways to bypass the defense put up by Van Sanctus and Sybil. Yes, they had the ability to react quickly and decisively. Sigh, but considering their circumstances, that hardly narrows it down. Several members of the 4 Plur families were present that day. Each and every one of them studied at the Imperial Academy. You're starting to look more and more suspicious the more we get into this trial, huh? They would all be knowledgeable in magic and its application, or it could just fucking be you again. What they were saying wasn't sitting right with me for some reason. There was something there, so why couldn't I see it? But there's another angle to this. Consider who the patron did and didn't target. What's similar about some of the targets? The victims are Lloyd Van Sanctus, Corlin Sybil, and Garrick Pierce. What's a similarity we can draw between at least 2 of them? They were friends? Or house leaders of Pillar families, I guess? Van Sanctus and Sybil were the heads of their respective noble houses. Are you saying the patron's goal was to assassinate leaders of the 4 pillars? That's the motive that makes the most sense. That does leave one question. Don't be so coy. Don't be coy, I'm not daft, Cuthbert. Yeah, why are you alive? Actually, I highly doubt it was you. Really now. Out of most of the people there, you could have easily tricked your daughter into signing a blood contract. But why would you need to do that? You're the Grand General of Warvengod's military, and the cathedral was filled with your men. You could have easily equipped one of your best mages to carry out this massacre. And you wouldn't even need to make a deal with a demon to do so. So why wasn't Lucia targeted then? Because he's got a giant axe. From her encounter with Celeste, it's clear there's a limit to Arya's combat capabilities. The patron might have simply doubted Arya's ability to defeat the Grand General. There's also another explanation. Why didn't the patron target Lucia Stone?
Maybe.
The patron wanted to frame Arya for the murders? The patron made no attempt to kill Lucio. Oh, wanted to frame Lucio? When they were controlling Arya, they didn't make any attempt to hide her actions. They wanted people to see her. Is this wrong?
Maybe.
Just House Stillwind then? Okay. The patron wanted people to suspect House Stillwind for the murders. They used Lucio Stillwind's daughter to commit the crime. Then they intentionally left him alive to cast suspicion on him. That's why they used my daughter? What was that tinge of anger just now? Anyways, that leads me to my next point. Imagine if we never discovered Arya's blood contract with the Empress of Discord. What would have happened? You'd still think that Miss Stillwind succumbed to Mage Blight. She would have been convicted for the murders, and trust in House Stillwind would be forever diminished. About a month ago, House Frigga lost the Duke of Finance, and his successor, Leifi Frigga, was woefully unprepared to take his place. Now, the heads of Von Sanctus and House Sybil are dead. With House Stillwind being held responsible for it all. All four of the Pillar families would have been weakened as a result of the massacre. But I think there's another layer to this. Everything fits together if we assume that the Patron's goal was to weaken the Pillar families, except for the murder of Garrick Pierce. Yes, in contrast to Sybil and Von Sanctus, Pierce's political power pales in comparison. Furthermore, Pierce was already scheduled to be executed next month for the murder of Fulham McCoy. Yeah, I don't get why they killed Pierce. Why did the Patron target Garrick Pierce? I don't know. You tell me. Why would the Patron go for the trouble of murdering a condemned man? He knew, I guess? The Patron must murder Pierce because they needed him to die as quickly as possible. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's biological parents. My parents? Do you remember what Pierce said when we showed up for the meeting? Ha, you finally arrived. I suppose this means you finally decided. What? You two? We got your letter. Letter? What letter? You sent us a letter, Pierce. You said that you knew who Celeste's parents were. I did send a letter, but not to you. We weren't the intended recipients of that letter. That's right. Did you forget, Celeste? What do you mean? So that leaves one last question. Who did Pierce originally send the letter to? The Patron, right? I don't know why the music stopped there. There's only one person Pierce could have sent that letter to. The person who orchestrated the massacre in the first place. The Patron! That means the Patron is someone who would be threatened by Celeste's parentage.
Enough.
If that's the case... Okay, wait. I'm sorry. If the Patron is someone who would be threatened by Celeste's parentage, why would they give us the letter and have us meet with Pierce? Because if you remember, we were very, very close to reading Pierce's mind and finding out who Celeste's parents were. Like, if we got knocked out 5 minutes later, then we would have found out. So why would they even let this happen? This seems extremely risky, no? Order in the court. But I don't understand. I'm sorry, I know this is a lot to take in, but I think they were targeting you for some reason. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's parent and attempted to blackmail the Patron with this. Instead of complying with Pierce's demands, the Patron sent a letter to me. But why go to the trouble of luring you there? They could have just allowed Pierce to wait in the prayer room while the defendant made her way to murder him. Yeah. Looking back on it, it's possible they wanted to kill Celeste too. What? They knew I would never meet with Pierce alone, and the information was about her. The Patron correctly guessed that I'd bring her with me. By killing both Pierce and Celeste, they'd eliminate any threat Celeste would pose to them. But who would be threatened by such information? The mere existence of McCoy posed a threat to them. How old are you, Celeste? Can I get your age? Are you older than Aster? It must have something to do with her birthright. Right. So who would that leave? I mean, the royal family. King Dwarvengar just recently died. What if Celeste were a member of the royal family? You think I'm a princess? I don't want to suspect Aster, but we need to consider every possibility. I want to suspect Aster. When it comes to conflicts of inheritance, a royal line of succession is the first thing that comes to mind. Not only that, the king would have the authority to pardon Pierce for his crimes. But that wouldn't entirely make sense. What do you mean? If McCoy was abandoned at the tavern in Cornhaven, we must assume she's a bastard child. Okay, I don't know why you have to bring that up. My point is that King Oliver wouldn't abandon a child of pure royal blood. The kingdom requires heirs to continue the royal bloodline. He would have leveraged her in a diplomatic marriage. That's disgusting. That's diplomacy, Cuthbert. Anyways, even if McCoy was of royal blood, Aster is the king's eldest child and he's of pure royal blood. McCoy would have no claim to the throne under these circumstances. Okay, I guess that's a good point. Alright, I see what you mean. I suppose that eliminates Aster for now. Anyways, you should consider the other suspects first. So who would that leave? I mean... Is it you? I don't think so. The Eye Taker is dead. But maybe? Question mark? A House Frigga? I mean, there's no one left in House Frigga. It's Leifi and fucking Miriam. I mean, I guess if Celeste was secretly a Frigga, then she would get a share of William's inheritance, which would maybe piss off Miriam and Life in theory. But I don't think that's it. If she's a Stillwind, then I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing. I'll say House Frigga. Why not? I recall during Beatrice Frigga's trial, we heard William Frigga's last will and testament. It mentioned that House Frigga's assets would be divided evenly between all of his children. If McCoy were to be revealed as a Frigga, his daughters would be legally obligated to share the estate with her. Could I seriously be a Frigga? I don't want to suspect Life or Miriam, but we need to consider every possibility. And as we've seen, the Friggas are no stranger to making deals with demons. However, it still doesn't quite fit. I thought Life or Miriam would do something like this. What are you basing that on? I tend to be a good judge of character. Okay, so you don't have any evidence. You just... I mean, I agree, but I don't know if you should say this. And they just don't seem like the type to do something like this. But you're far too trusting. I hold no doubt that any of William's children will be capable of something like this. I suppose we'll have to see. Anyways, we should consider the other suspects first. So who would that leave? Stillwind? As much as I have my doubts, Stillwind is the only pillar family whose house leader survived the past month. You think I'm McCoy's biological father? You're barely a father to your actual daughter. I'm only stating that possibility for the sake of argument. As I've said, it wouldn't make sense for you to frame your own daughter when House Stillwind would be blamed. But we need to consider every possibility. Anyways, to consider others. Okay, I guess it's the Eye Taker. What if the Eye Taker orchestrated this whole thing, even though he's dead? The Eye Taker, the common criminal? What reason would he have to do this? I've heard firsthand that he was planning to expand his influence throughout Ravengard. He was actually plotting with Beatrice to use House Frigga to do so. Since I ruined his original plans, setting up this massacre might have been his backup plan. Perhaps you're looking at this all wrong. What if Celeste was part of the royal family, and they were planning to use her to take the throne? You just said she couldn't have been a part of the royal family, no? But if he wanted to do so, why would he put McCoy in danger by having my daughter attack her? Not only that, he also had the perfect opportunity to murder His Majesty. Imagine if he had placed a more lethal contingent spell in that glyph of contingency. His Majesty might have very well died alongside Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. I suppose you're right, but we need to consider every possibility. That's honestly all I can think of. Yes, there's a flaw with each suspect. The logic is clearly flawed. There's something here I'm not seeing, but I know I'm close. There's a missing piece that ties all this together. Regardless, we still have no idea who... Okay, so all of them were wrong. I just had to go through all 4 of them. Okay. We still have no idea who or what this Empress of Discord is. I know. I'm not to allow such an individual to walk freely through Ravengard. Your Grace, you've been alive since the creation of Ravengard and magic. Do you know who this demon is? I can't say I do. Well, thanks for the help. Demons tend to take on many titles with their lifetimes, but whoever this Empress is, they are brave to so blatantly encroach on my domain like this. Well, I suppose we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there. We've obtained a lot of information today, but we clearly have many questions that need to be answered. How should we proceed? We have been working at this for quite a while. Perhaps we should suspend proceedings so that we can look into these new leads. Everyone here is just going to go home with the knowledge that there's a dragon leading the country? I have no objections. We'll give my men some time to look into what we've discovered today. Then settle. We'll be postponing proceedings for now, but you'll all be expecting to return here by tomorrow morning. You're all free to return to your homes for the time being. But make no mistake, the Kingsguard will be keeping careful watch over all of you. Okay, I guess that's the explanation. Okay, well, that was fun. There was still this constant nagging sensation in the back of my mind. Hey, Tyrion? It's as if I were overlooking something extremely important. Tyrion? What was it? What could be so important yet so difficult to remember? Is she your sister? that would be very funny if she was your sister. No, there's no way that's it. Tyrion. Sorry. I was thinking about everything. You're looking really stressed out. Do you want to head back to your house to rest? No, we only have a day until the trial resumes. If we can't forget what happened after tomorrow, the magical traces will disappear. But you already know what happened, you just don't know who did it. We should speak with the suspects again. Maybe if I get lucky, I'll see something to the Eye of Horus. One of the suspects is the Eye Taker. What are we going to do about him? I don't think he's going to be a problem, Celeste. I suppose I'll have to speak with him too. What? No! What if he tries to kill you again? There's just a risk I'll have to take. Arya's life is on the line. Tyrion, do you even understand what you've been pulled into? What? Someone just murdered a bunch of nobles and they even attacked members of the royal family. Now there are ancient dragons and demon lords involved too. Isn't this above your pay grade? Ouch. You know that's not what I meant. It's just this whole situation is crazy, isn't it? It's fine, just like any other of her investigations. It's not though. She's right. What if the Empress of Discord attacks you? What if the patron decides that you're getting too close to the truth? What if I can't? Her voice broke and her hands began to tremble. Celeste, are you still worried about what happened during the massacre? I'm fine. I already told you that you didn't do anything wrong. You almost died, Tyrion. I know. You almost died. I know, Celeste. No, Tyrion, I don't think you do. When I saw you all lying on the floor, I'm always so cocky about how I've never lost a fight, and because of that, She can't even complete that sentence. Celeste. How could I be so thoughtless? She was attacked by Arya and almost died. I'm sorry, I didn't think. Don't apologize, please. Please just leave this to Lucian and the Scaled Lord. Can't do that. He's done enough already, they can figure the rest of it out. And what if it's not enough? I'm not so arrogant that I think they can't do it without me. What if they can't figure out who the patron is? Arya will spend the rest of her life in prison. What if I could have done something to prevent that? I don't care if that happens. Oh my, that's kind of cold. Celeste. I don't care, Tyrion. I'll apologize to her all you want after this, but all I want is to keep you safe. I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore. Even she seems surprised by what she said. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm really happy you're part of my life. I know that what you're saying is coming from a place of care. I'm really sorry about how much I've been worrying you lately, but you're not going to stop, are you? I'm going to talk to Lucia. What? If we're going to meet the Idolatry again, we're bringing some knights with us. Celeste, that's hardly... Nope, you don't get a say in this. If you're not here when I get back, I will find you. Judging from her expression, that wasn't an empty threat. Fine, just go. Why is she going on her own? Why are we not following her? Are we about to get kidnapped or something? She might have a point, though. Before everything happened, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to continue practicing law. Maybe I need to consider a safer, quieter life after this is all done. I hope she would still be a part of it. What was I thinking about now? I couldn't stop thinking about her lips on my cheek. On your cheek? How lewd. However brief that was. Alright, let's just clear that. That was fast. It was surprisingly easy to convince him. Oh, are you okay? I'm fine. Let's not waste any more time. I have to get my face out of our airline. I just quickly walked past her. Hey, don't walk so far ahead. I need to stay focused on the trial for Arya's sake. But when this was all over, I'd have to say those words to her. Well, I suppose I didn't have to think about that until then. Alright, well. I keep having short episodes, but like, I can't really keep going. Like, I have to stop here. Oh, this is where the Eye Taker died. Who are Celeste's parents? Let's think about this. I mean, honestly, to me, the idea that she's like part of the royal family makes the most sense. She even has the same hair color, right? We said it did make sense because Aster wouldn't have any reason to want her dead because she would be a bastard child, which would mean she wouldn't have any right to the throne. But he could have another reason for wanting to kill her, right? Maybe she could be her sister. That would be very funny. I don't think they would do that though, but maybe. Why is Ruby here? I feel like Ruby is completely like irrelevant in any of this. I don't think her being a Frigga really makes any sense. You obviously also have white hair. Are you an Asclepius? Maybe. Are you also a dragon? I don't know. Why are these two different characters? I mean, the only guess I have right now as to what Celeste's family is she's part of the royal family. Like, that's all I can think of. Nothing else makes sense to me right now. So Tyrion was like, oh, what am I forgetting? There was this one detail. Why can't I remember? So the way he's saying it, it seems like the game wants me to remember some small detail previously in the story. But I guess just like Tyrion, I'm not really recalling anything specific. Case 1 was probably the one where we learned the most about Celeste's family. But even then, I forgot Celeste's mom is still alive. Does she go to visit sometime, or like her adopted mom? I think she did mention that she went to visit sometimes. So I don't remember. I never noticed, but her description here is really cute. It's like Tyrion singing all the things he likes about her. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, that's my best guess. Is she's royal family? That's what I'll go with for now. But anyway, yeah, I'm stopping here for now. That trial was fun. I keep thinking like the trials in this game are too short. Like I feel they should all be a bit longer. Because I feel like we barely did anything. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, stopping here for now. See you next time.